My next guest is United States Senator Ron Johnson of the great state of Wisconsin, right across the lake from where we sit every day. And he's been there since 2011. He knows his way around Washington, usually has his nose right in the thick of things. And that's why we wanted to invite him on today, because there's so much going on in the first month of the Trump administration, part two. We thought we'd give him a way in. Senator, thank you so much for being here.
Morning, Steve. Hope you're doing well.
Doing great. Thank you so much for stopping in. Look, let's start with DOGE. I do not understand how my friends in the Democrat Party and on the left can complain that we don't want to spend $10 million to have men in Mozambique circumcised or children in Guatemala to have sex change operations. To me, it's pretty shocking. I mean, how can they complain about saving money on absolutely ridiculous expenditures? It's odd to me. What do you make of it?
Well, again, government is what fuels and funds their radical leftist agenda. And they can't have that threatened. So what Elon Musk is doing is he's exposing all the grotesque waste, fraud, and abuse that is the federal government. You know, Steve, I've been on a tirade here looking at what we spent in 2019, $4.4 trillion. Then, of course, we went on the COVID spending spree. We averaged 6.5 for the next 5 years. Last year, we spent 6.9 trillion, and this year we'll spend about $7.3 trillion, 61% higher than we spent just 5 or 6 years ago. There is no justification for that whatsoever. Unfortunately, you know, my colleagues in both parties seem to think that, well, that's the baseline, but nothing we can do to change that. We can maybe trim around the edges. I've been proposing, really returning to a very reasonable pre-pandemic baseline, somewhere between $5.5 to $6.5 trillion. I hope we don't have to go as high as 6.5, but right now, based on what the House is doing, just trimming off 100 billion or so, we'd still be above $7 trillion. So again,
Yeah.
we've got defenders in both parties, but in general, Democrats, I mean, they are the party of big government, and they are going to be kicking and screaming all the way to
all the way through. Yeah. You know, I look at $4.7 trillion, Senator. $4.7 trillion. We don't even know what it was spent on. We don't know where it was. It wasn't tagged. I mean, I couldn't show up as a small business owner and tell my accountant with a straight face I couldn't account for $4,700. He would laugh me out of the room and say, yeah, that doesn't work. But we've got $4.7 trillion that we don't know where it went. How is that even possible?
And that's the beauty of DOGE, is completely different eyes coming and looking at this. I'm sure this has been going on for years. You know, Congress can't do effective oversight because the executive won't turn information over to us. We don't have the staff to go in there and audit things like Elon Musk has done. So I think this has been a brilliant move. They're highlighting, what he uncovered by USAID. That corruption is just the tip of the iceberg. 20 million Americans, apparently over 100 years old, 110 years old, on some form of Social Security or with a Social Security number. Personally, I think that's probably the illegal immigrant population that are illegally using those Social Security numbers. But again, we really don't know. But again, this has been going on. This is how difficult it is for a Republican president. You've got the bureaucrats in the deep state that the Democrats want to defend. The press is trying to say, well, Elon Musk is an unelected individual. Well, so are all these bureaucrats. These same bureaucrats did everything they could to undermine and sabotage the first Trump administration. Donald Trump's coming into office far more aware and wary of the deep state trying to conquer it. It's not going to be an easy task.
It's not going to be easy, but thankfully, it was Barack Obama that created the foundation for what DOGE is, the United States Digital Service, which has now been rebranded, if you will, to be the United States DOGE Service. So it's pre-existing. The Democrats can't fight that, not legally, and they keep losing in courts, and they will continue to lose. And look, the American people want to know where the money's going. We want to know how the money's being spent, and we want to. And how about this? The DOGE dividend. How well would it play with voters if suddenly they got a check for $500, $800 because we saved a ton of money, and they said, you know what, maybe we should give some of this back to the taxpayers? That would be wildly popular, wouldn't it?
I'm happy to do this once we balance the budget. I guess
right.
I differ. Again, we're going to have somewhere around a $2 trillion year deficit this year. We're $36.4 trillion in debt. So, the thing that really robs the American public of their purchasing power is runaway inflation. It's not conquered yet. What caused inflation is printing too many dollars. So we have to get the deficit down before we start, turning, dividend checks over the American public. We need to use those DOGE savings to bring down spending. Right now, we should focus on spending. Again, we were $4.4 trillion in 2019, $7.3 trillion There's no reason we can't return to, for example, when I say 6.5 trillion, what that number is, it's Trump's 2019 total expenditures increased by population and inflation using today's Social Security, Medicare, and interest. That's $6.5 trillion. Again, $800 billion less than $7.3 trillion. That ought to be our minimum target. I can justify going down to $5.5 trillion. That's Clinton's level of spending in 1998 when we had a surplus. So there's reasonable baselines. You know, all my Republican colleagues always talk about zero-based budgeting, right?
Right.
Never do it. But why not go to 5.5 to 6.5 baseline-based budgeting? That's entirely doable and very reasonable.
Well, one of the ways we could stop spending money, I want to switch gears. We only got about a minute here, but I want to cover this real quickly with you. And that is all the money we have sent to Ukraine, hundreds of billions of dollars that we now have been told by President Zelensky of Ukraine, he doesn't know where half the money's gone, maybe more. And at the same time, he's trying to debate, insult, frankly, Donald Trump on the world stage in the media to try to win some sort of points. I don't think trying to debate Donald Trump in the media or win the battle of public opinion for the future of Ukraine is a good way for President Zelensky to go. What would you say?
Well, it's not working. It won't work. We need to account for those dollars. We probably won't be able to, which is one of the reasons the American public, I think, in pretty large majority, does not want to send more dollars over to Ukraine to see the killing and destruction continue. So I've been saying this for a number of years now. The war has to end. I'm not going to like the settlement, but the only way it ends is with a negotiated settlement. And I appreciate President Trump dedicated to achieve that goal.
That's right. At least we're getting that done, sir. All right. Greatly appreciate it. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. Next time, I hope you come back for a little bit longer time. We'll spend more time together. Great things going on in America, but it's going to take dedication and hard work, sir. Thank you for being here.
Have a great day.
Greatly appreciate it. There you have it. Senator Johnson of Wisconsin.